There's huge benefits to winning public sector contracts. For many people, it's considered an opportunity that's only open to big companies, which is absolutely not true. There's a huge amount of opportunity out there for small and medium-sized businesses to win contracts, and there's a real appetite for it. The government have set their own targets that 1 in every £3 be spent with a small and medium-sized business, which equates to £88 billion a year. That's a huge opportunity for companies up and down the country to start winning these contracts that many people are not even aware of, or don't know how to go after, but they're there for the taking. And these contracts are typically long-term, high-value contracts which can transform local economies and the lives of local businesses, creating investment and wealth on a local level. UK Cabinet Minister Lord Agnew is quoted as saying, "Small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of the UK economy, fueling economic growth, providing employment for almost 17 million people. This is why we're determined to make sure the power of government spending supports this vital sector and helps bring forward the delivery of top-class public services." Securing a long-term pipeline of work is essentially the dream of most small business owners, ensuring you've got that continuity and that certainty, knowing what's coming up in the next month, the next year, or even multiple years. Public sector contracts give that great opportunity to win long-term, multi-year contracts in many cases. The average contract length is in excess of 3 years. This can differ obviously from sector to sector. Construction projects typically will be for a set time period, whereas services such as cleaning or waste removal tend to be longer term contracts. And having these long-term contracts gives you a real clear pipeline of what's coming up. It allows businesses to have certainty so that they can invest in their staff and in their locations or their equipment. And as a small business owner, it's hard to make those investments without that certainty. So public sector contracts gives a real solid foundation for organisational growth. So winning public sector contracts can really help give you that platform. And it's not just a case of winning one. You can win one, but then you can look at the pipeline of which other contracts are due to come out over the next 6, 12, 24 months, and you can target specific contracts. If you're in one location and you know that the city just down the road from you can service, you can look out for that contract and build a real clear pipeline of which contracts you would like to go after. Obviously, you're not guaranteed to win them all, but it can give you real certainty of where your next big opportunity is coming from. The UK government has very favourable payment terms. If you win a public sector contract, you're pretty much guaranteed to be paid unless you fail to deliver what you've promised. You don't, well, I certainly have never heard of a public sector organisation such as a council or the NHS not paying a supplier who's delivered a service. The UK government has a commitment that public sector organisations will pay suppliers within 60 days. However, most public sector organisations actually go beyond that and commit to paying within 30 days. So have a look at the contract details, and they'll typically set out the payment terms and the payment timelines. And in most cases, you'll find that it's a 30-day payment term. Winning a public sector contract can be quite a feather in the cap for most businesses. It's something to shout about. If you can say you're a supplier of the local council, the local NHS, the housing association, the university, that's something great that you can talk about, that raises your profile and helps you win further work elsewhere. If you're talking to a client and they're looking for validation of your expertise, and you can show them or tell them about a case study or an example of where you're working with someone such as the NHS, your reputation is naturally enhanced by being aligned with these huge organisations who we all have so much respect for. So it's not just the contract win itself, it's actually the benefits that you can achieve. You can get some local press coverage of the fact that you've won a contract and raise your profile in the local area, and that can be great for business. We've seen that happen time and time again, that a contract win is a springboard for further organisational growth. So we've got a few tips that can help you if you're thinking about winning public sector contracts. The initial thought is, let's go after a huge contract, let's look at something massive, multi-million pound, but actually start small. Look at something worth 30, 20, 30, 40% of your annual turnover and go for that. Try and win that. because that's kind of the sweet spot that public sector organisations are comfortable awarding contracts. As your turnover grows, you can then go for bigger and bigger contracts. But by actually winning smaller ones, you can actually piece together a number of smaller contracts. 3 contracts can double the turnover of your company. So be realistic, start out small, something you can deliver, and go for it. Next tip is be picky. Choose the things you can win. The best way to win a bid is to pick the opportunities that you can win, which sounds obvious, but it's easy to get blinded by the size of the opportunity or the type of opportunity in front of you. But you've got to be realistic and think, have I done this before? Have we delivered contracts of this scale? Maybe not, but can we demonstrate that we have the capability? You might see a £50,000 contract and think that would be perfect for our business. We turn over £500,000, but our average client's £2,000. Well, actually, you can pitch it that managing 25 clients at £2,000 a client is more complex than managing one £50,000 contract. And you're well placed to do that, having managed the demands and the needs of 25 different clients to achieve the same outcome. So pick the winners, play to your strengths, and you'll have a great chance of securing some contracts and securing some significant company growth. And the next tip is ask for feedback. Don't be afraid to ask people. Show them what the marking criteria is. Show them the questions. Have I answered that question? If it's in explain, did I explain? If it's in evidence, have I provided evidence? Get the feedback of other people. The common mistake that people make when giving feedback is they'll read it and they'll say, you've missed a comma, or that was spelt wrong. That's not the feedback you want. The feedback is, have I answered the question? Have I given you confidence that I can do this? And if you give me a contract, I can do it. I've done it before and I know how I'm going to do it. And I'm telling you those things. That's the kind of feedback you need. But when you submit a tender, you get feedback from the buyer. Whether you're successful or unsuccessful, you'll get marks for each of the questions and usually a little bit of written narrative as to why you scored that. But you can ask for more. You can contact the buyer and say, can you expand on this? We're really keen to make sure that we get 10 out of 10 in the health and safety section next time instead of 9 out of 10. What were we missing? What could we have done to get it to a 10? And always be looking for that feedback both before the tender submission and after the tender submission. Even if you win, unless you score 100% in the tender submission, there's usually some way you can improve. So even if you're successful, look for those little things you can tweak, because next time you might miss out by 1 point. But if you get that feedback that helps you gain that 1 point, then you're in a better position for next time. It's all about learning and refining and keeping improving your processes and how you're putting together those submissions.